Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cook Podcast, episode number 16. Today we have Melissa, owner of Lifeline, a booming coffee shop that's serving the community with over 4 locations across Tri-Cities. Hope you guys enjoy. So I think I've known your mom for several years. I started working with my parents like full time, like at like 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen her there like in and out
Yeah.
several times. And we've had conversations about like business and all that. And she was actually, I remember before I left for my location on Clearwater,
Uh-huh.
I told her about it. And she was like happy, and she's so cool.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like my mom is a very, very positive person.
yeah.
She's been like a huge influence in my life for sure. Just teaching me, obviously my parents have always taught me really good characteristic traits and like how to be. I will say, I think the one thing that they did really put into all of us and teach all of us is work ethic. And that is
sure.
something that I'm so proud of myself to have that. And I hope, and I think they are, but I would hope that they are very proud of like the work ethic that they've instilled in all of us. I come from a fairly big family. There's 7 of us. So there's 5 boys and 2 girls. And I'm the middle child. So I kind of kid around and I say I'm the forgotten one, but I definitely have middle child syndrome. But no, my childhood was great, and my parents, they've been like both just huge positive like influences in my life. And yeah, my mom, obviously, she's very positive. She's a yapper. She talks a lot. But yeah, I feel like she's always has a positive aspect in life, and
Yeah.
she's always, I feel like whenever she speaks to especially younger people, I feel like she does speak a lot of positivity into their life. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you've had the privilege to come across her and
for
talk
sure.
to her for a little bit.
Yeah, she was definitely a positive person. There was a lot of people that I told about the store that were kind of like, they weren't negative, but they were like kind of saying downsides to it first. And well, I mean, I didn't really listen to that, but I just kind of tried to stay positive. But going back to like you being a middle child, I feel like that's such a huge blessing because you get to learn from the oldest, and you
Yeah.
also get to learn from the younger siblings as well.
Yeah,
And
very true.
yeah.
But I'm number 5, and then I'm after 4 boys. So I feel like boys are always
okay, that's different,
raised
yeah.
a little bit different, and then there's a girl, the first girl, and But no, I will say I had a really good childhood. My mom actually, she had a daycare when I was like pretty much the majority of my childhood, and so I feel like I just grew up with a bunch of kids, and it was nice because I always had mom at home, and dad would go to work and come home, and it was a good childhood for sure. And then they opened up a store, I want to say in 2004 on the east side of Pasco, and so we moved to Pasco. We all worked there. They had a paleteria before that, and we also all worked there. So I would say that I started working with my parents probably since I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9, like just helping out.
Yeah.
My older brothers, they would go, they were probably making paleta at like, hopefully this should be okay to say, right? They were probably making paleta like by like 12 years old. They're
Yeah.
out there like full on.
That's good.
Yeah. So my parents, like I said, they definitely instilled a really good work ethic in us, and we all have really good jobs. We're all doing really well. So, yeah.
The forgotten one.
Yeah. Definitely, but it's just a joke sometimes.
So how did you? So your parents they opened this store, and how did you feel about it? Like when they would ask you for your help, or kind of they probably didn't even ask you. They kind of just brought you in.
Yeah.
Like how did that make you feel like at an early age?
I'm not gonna lie. Growing up as a kid, well, I was like when they opened the store. I want to say I was in 4th grade. So what is that, like 11 maybe? So like towards my teenage years, I wanted to like go hang out with my friends, go to the mall, go to the park, go do all those things. And they were always like, no, you have to come to work. Like right after school, I would go to work. And the funny thing is that next to the store, there's a house connected to it. So we lived in the house. So I just had to be there, like regardless. But yeah, I would say that I had a little bit of resentment. Like I was like, dang, I want to like go hang out with my friends and
Yeah.
go do this, and they're like, no, you have to go to work. So, so at a pretty early on age, I would say that I had made the decision that I was like, I'm not going to own a business. I'm not going to be like this. They like never, they're old school Hispanics, right? So I feel like their work culture is just very go to work, go to work,
Die
go to
hard.
work, go to work, right? And that's all they kind of know. So I don't feel like in those early years they really prioritized a ton of family time, which that working together was our family time, which I guess is still family time, right?
Yeah.
But like I wanted to go out and spend time with my family out of work, and we never really got that opportunity. So yeah, growing up, I was just like, I'm not going to own a business. Like, that's not what I see myself doing. I feel like you're slaves to your business. Like, you can't do anything. It's always business first. Everything comes after. Somebody calls out, you have to go in. So yeah, so then I decided I was like, I'm going to go to nursing school. I probably decided on that maybe like 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then after that, that was my goal. I went to, I graduated from Chihuahua, did that, went to CBC, got into their nursing program, and then became a nurse. And then somehow
We're here.
here we are. But yeah, back to your question, I would say that I had a little bit of resentment. But like I said, now looking at it in hindsight, I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah,
you know?
I can relate to like so much of what you just described. That like experience of like going through the emotions of like I don't ever want to own a business, because I think it's just a feeling. It's not like, and it's a feeling that eventually goes away once you mature and you humanize your parents.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think we all go through that like that process of like demonizing them at first, because they're like, why do you work all the time? Like, why don't you have time for me? Like, or like, why do you force me into working?
Yeah.
And they never forced the business or anything on me, but they always forced me to work, which is good. And seeing it now.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
But that process is that process of maturity, to be able to like look up to your parents and like, you know what, like, thank you for everything. And that's that's so true. Like, you spend family time like at the store or like at the business. Like, that's your family time.
But I will say some of my best memories are just at the store, like hanging out with my brothers or with my parents. And we'll every time we get together, we'll be like, oh, remember this at the store when you did this, and or remember so and so, because we have like our regular customers,
for sure.
So yeah. And now looking at it, like you said, now that like I've matured from it, it was a blessing for sure.
Yeah. How'd you get into like making coffee and all that stuff? Like,
Honestly, after nursing school, well, I was still in nursing school, and my parents, they had bought in another building. It was a bigger building. And my dad was like, I can make you like a little coffee shop here. And I was like, back to my mentality of I'm never going to own a business. I was just like, no. And then my parents, they were the actual ones that planted that seed in my head. They're like, if you want, like, we could do this coffee shop for you. Like, we could just build you a little section here, and, you can start it. And I was like, nah. And then during nursing school, I think I was spending so much time in coffee shops, like studying and stuff. I was just like, this looks so easy. Like, this looks like pretty easy money, Yeah. And it just looks fun. Like, I don't know. And then I was just like, you know what? My parents did say. And then I kind of started doing my research, and I was like, okay, well, it'll cost me this much. And really, that's not too much. I have a decent amount of saved. And I was just like, if things go south, well, whatever. Like, I didn't lose too much. Hopefully, I can at least make my money back. And then I have nursing to fall back on, right? So, so 6 months before I graduated, I started ordering everything. I got everything, and then graduated nursing school on like the 16th, and I opened the shop up on on the 23rd. Yeah, it was my dad's birthday. Nice. So yeah, I opened up the shop. It's gonna be 7 years in June, and yeah, it was a little tough at first. I ran it for 6 months with just me and my sister, but neither of us had any coffee experience. Yeah. like nothing.
Yeah.
So other than sitting in the coffee shops while I studied. But a lot of YouTube. I did have some really great people helping me out that came and taught me, showed me like the logistics and like for the most part, the basic stuff. And yeah, that's kind of growing up with my mom or with my parents' business too. She taught me kind of how to do like the books and like accounting and stuff growing up. So I kind of had that part figured out. I wasn't too stressed about that because I did their store stuff. So yeah, I feel like my parents just kind of set me up for success. And
That's so cool.
yeah, I'm definitely so thankful for them.
Yeah. So your first location was in Pasco.
On the east side. Yeah.
How long do you think that it took to like you could like really see like the fruit and enjoy like the profit of that?
I would say it probably took me about 3 years to like really be like, okay, I can actually step back and let my employees work, and I can focus on maybe doing other things. But yeah, me and my sister worked for 6 months. We worked it from open and close, just us two. And then I was like, okay, I need to get my big girl job. So then I hired, I want to say like 2 part-time girls. I went to go work for a hospital here in town. And then on my days off of the hospital, I would work the coffee shop from open and close. And then, I worked nights at the hospital. So some days on my nights off, I would take a little nap and then wake up like maybe around noon and then go work. And I did that for about, I want to say 3 years, and then COVID hit. And then that's when I was working in the hospital still, and I was working on the COVID floor. So I was like, nobody really knew what COVID was at that time, and I didn't want to bring it to my customers. I didn't want to bring it to my girls.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring it to my parents. So I would just kind of go to work and go home and kind of quarantine myself in the room. But it allowed me to really step back and let my girls handle it. I would still do, all the background stuff, and like go pick up product and stuff like that. But for the most part, they were running the shop. And then that's when I saw like, oh wow, like the shop can kind of run itself in a sense, like I don't really have to be here all my days off. Like I don't have to be here. So, or on my days off, I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
Edit that out.
Keep it in.
But yeah, so that was really nice. And then for the first 3 years as well, I would say that I was taking my paycheck from the hospital, and that's what I was living off of. And everything that I was making from the shop, I was just reinvesting into the shop. And that's also what helped me grow and have like a cushion to fall on, because I mean, I'm sure taxes, employees, product, inflation, like everything is just insane. And you can make X amount of money, but at the end of it, you're left with like this much. And I think that's the part that people don't understand is really how much you're left with. And you see that number and you're like, I worked so hard and that's all I'm getting. Like, but at the end of the day, I really do love what I do. So it's really not about numbers for me. Obviously I want to have like a nice life and like do the things that I want to do and, get the things that I want to get. But I'm not gonna trying to make enough money to like buy a Lambo or like have all the bags and all the trips, like I just want to live a nice, humble life. And that's just,
That's so cool.
Without.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's what most people are trying to do is like trying to make a living off of what they love to do, and you're like big into like serving others and like, obviously it's a customer service based industry. You have to be you have to know how to handle people and like how to serve them
100%.
At first, when you first had a goal for your business, what did that look like versus now?
That's a really hard question because I feel like I really didn't go into the coffee shop with like this huge goal. Like it was more of a let's just try it out and see what happens type thing, Like I didn't have like these huge expectations for it. And I don't know if that's like good or bad,
I think that's good.
Like I didn't go in with like this huge big dream of like being like a huge franchise. I kind of just went into it and was just like, let's just see what happens, you know? Even if it's just like a side gig and nursing is still my main income and this is just like side income, you know? I feel like that was more of my goal. Like, I was just like, okay, well, maybe I can use the coffee shop money and maybe like invest in like other things that I want to do or want to have. But yeah, I feel like that was kind of my goal, I guess, in a sense, opening it. Now, you know, it's still a hard question because obviously I would love to open more shops, but at this point, I feel like I'm kind of just leaving it in God's hands. Like, if He wants to bless me with more opportunities and like possibly give me more shops to open, I will very thankfully take them. As long as He gives me, I pray all the time, and I'm like, just give me, if you're gonna do that, like, make sure to give me the strength that and like the knowledge and the wisdom that I need to know to open them, because I don't want to like be super stressed and overwhelmed with a bunch of shops and like just, I guess, like put 10% here, 10% here, 10%, and then kind of have them trickle down, you know? Like, I have to make sure that they're all doing well.
Yeah.
And that I'm able to attend them, but not like stretch myself too thin to where I'm like not enjoying life either, you know? So I guess that's my goal now. I mean, if God wants to give me another one in the future, then I will gladly accept. But yeah.
That's so true. I feel like I'm at that point too, where I'm like, if there's gonna be another location, like, it's up to God, you know? Obviously, we have to meet Him halfway.
Yeah, for sure.
But He's the one that allows us to have those kind of blessings. And you don't want to put too much on your plate, because like they say in Spanish, like, el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like, where you're trying to be everywhere, you're not anywhere, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And so I think COVID was like a huge turning point for you too, when you like kind of get to sit back and realize like, oh dang, like they need me, but at the same time, like they can operate alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's a beautiful thing
Yeah.
too. When you see them, like, you're like kind of like over watching them, and you're like, dang, like they're doing their thing over there.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing
It was
too,
awesome.
because that's what you work hard for too, is like to train people. Because if it was all on you, like, imagine that burden.
I
Like,
honestly wouldn't be able to do it without my girls. Like, absolutely no way. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, I'm so thankful for them. Like, yeah, they're great. I couldn't appreciate them more.
yeah,
for sure.
a team is everything. For sure. Were there moments where you doubted like that it was gonna work out? Like, let's say when you first started out or in the middle of the process?
Yeah. I would say probably the first like 6 months to a year was kind of tough.
Yeah.
We didn't have the drive-through at that point, so it was just walk up.
Walk in.
Yeah. There was days where I was making like $30. I was there all day and I was making $30. And then after the 6 months mark, because I remember I would come home from the hospital and I would go check the sales, and I'd be like, oh, they made $100 yesterday. Like, that's so great. They were so busy. And then sometimes I would get like a little sad, and I'll be like, my dad, he's just like the person I go to, like if I'm feeling down or like anything. Like, my dad is just, he just knows how to word things for me, right? So I would be like, Dad, like, dang, we only made like $30 yesterday and I was here all day. He's like, no, he's like, that's fine. He's like, as long as you're not in the red, you're good. He's like, just look at it like that. If you're not in the red, you're fine. And I was just like, okay, you're right. I'm not in the red. So I guess even if I'm breaking even, I mean, it's better than being in debt, right?
Right.
And yeah, I held on to that little piece of advice until now. I'm like, okay, I'm not in the red, so we're doing good. And yeah, and those words were, even though they're very small, like, you're not in the red, but those words have stuck with me, and I think that they'll stick with me forever because, yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Words of wisdom. Sometimes it's like the most like simple sayings, or like the most, I guess you could say, like minimal words that if you actually believe it, it can like help you a lot.
Yeah.
Like, at least you're not in the red. That's true.
Yeah.
Like, for anybody starting out, just focus on the positives.
Yep.
At the end of the day, that's what he was trying to do is like focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Because if you would have came to somebody that was a little bit more negative, they'd be like, oh, like you're not making money, like maybe you should rethink
Yeah.
that. But he kept pushing you to like think positively, and I think as a leader, you have to be positive.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that sets the tone. You're the one that sets the energy.
Yeah.
Not only for the vision, but for your team as well.
Mm-hmm.
For your customers.
Yeah.
They can see it on your face, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I know. For sure. But yeah, so those were the days that I was just like, and then after the first shop, I was still working at the hospital, and I was just like, you know what, I want to do a sit-down cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, a lot of people had some pushback on that because it was so close. So it was at my parents' original store, which was only a block away from the one that I have now. But I was like, no, I want to set a different vibe. Like, people can come in and sit down, and I want to do food and like da-da-da. And people were like, you're going to be taking customers away from your like drive-through. Like, that doesn't make sense. And then they're like, and this building is old. Like, you're going to have to put so much money into it. And they just started listing all these things, right? That was wrong. And I was just like, I'm a little stubborn. So I was just like, no, I'm going to do it. And I did do it. And unfortunately, that only lasted a year. But halfway through, I did have some people being like, you should probably like just close this down. I was never in the red. Again, I was never in the red, but I was definitely breaking even way more than I was making profit. And I was just like, it's not worth this. Like, food is a whole different animal. Like, that is.
For sure.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan. So I was just like, you know what? It's not worth the stress. Like, I'm just going to focus on the shops. And then I was, through that, God brought me like a huge opportunity. And I feel like this is where he really showed up for me. Through the cafe, I was holding interviews, right? And this girl comes in and she was like, yeah, I just kind of lost my job. She's like, I was a barista at this other place out in Burbank. She was like, they had to close down for whatever reason, and that's all she said, right? And then the interview kind of went on. But then I was like, oh, so there's nobody at that Burbank location? She was like, no. She was like, it was inside of a gas station, da-da-da. And I was like, oh, okay. In my head, I was just like, I'm going to go scope this place out. Like, this sounds like a good place. Because in Burbank, have you been out there?
I haven't.
No?
Mm-mm.
Burbank, it's like a small little community, and there's only 2 gas stations. There's really not a ton out there, but it's like on one of the main highways.
Yeah.
And then there's a park there, you know? And there's like a bunch of schools. Like, they have the high school, the middle school, the elementary. And I was like, that sounds like a really good like business opportunity. So right after that interview, I booked it to Burbank, and I like went to the gas station. I talked to the cashier that was there, and I was like, hey, like, do you by any chance know the owner? You know, I heard that you guys were looking for somebody to maybe put a coffee shop in here. And yeah, and I got in contact with the owner, and I opened up Burbank, and then through that, that owner built a couple other gas stations, and that's where I'm currently in right now. And that was like a huge opportunity and a huge blessing, not only because these doors opened for me, but also I did learn a lot of valuable lessons through the cafe.
Right.
Like, I learned how to be a little bit more stern as a boss when I had to be. I had to deal with a lot of customers who weren't entirely satisfied, and it wasn't with like what I was like, it wasn't with the food or anything, but it was just with the time management. Like, they're like, yeah, it just takes too long to like make the food. And I'm like, well, you're getting fresh food. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're making to order. And it just taught me a lot. Like, it taught me that, you know, not everything is going to go the way that you want it to go. I thought that because I had established the drive-through, that the cafe was just going to kind of take off because I had already kind of built a little bit of a name through the drive-through shop. So I had, I guess, higher expectations for the cafe. And when those expectations weren't met, it was a little disappointing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know how that feels sometimes, but it's just a part of the business. And like I said, a lot of lessons came through that, but God definitely showed up for me by opening up those opportunities and sending me that girl. I feel like he sent her.
For sure.
So
He sends people.
Yeah.
And through people, he does his work. That's good that you answered that. And you.
I know, It reminded me of the question, and I was like, you know what, let me just maneuver into there.
So I guess that answers to like, because that was completely unexpected. Were you looking for another location at that time? Like,
No,
it just kind of,
not
that was
at
the
all.
first time that you ever thought about,
Yeah.
like, oh, like another location would be nice.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Wow.
Just because a lot of people are like, well, what, don't you want to own like your own stand? You know, like so you don't have to like pay rent, I guess, in a sense, or like you're still paying payments, I'm sure, on the stand, but you don't have to pay somebody else. And in a sense, like yes, that would be great, but properties are so expensive, and finding prime properties is even more
Even more
expensive.
expensive, yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like this is it was the way it happened and who these people are. They're literally the greatest people ever. Like, love them so much. They're so great. And I feel so just like blessed and privileged to even be able to work with them.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I just feel like
Yeah.
it's kind of a win-win.
I think when you get into that like stance too of like you love the people that are working with you, because I don't view it as like they're working for me. Like I view it as like I'm working for them. And so like, well,
And
like
we really are.
yeah,
Like,
and like wow, like you really chose to like work with me.
yeah.
Like you chose me, like,
Yeah.
because there's so many other job opportunities, and for some reason they're like right there next to you,
Yeah.
and so it's like really like
And yeah, and when you have good people that like really, I guess, like you as a person,
yeah,
you know, they will help you out.
for sure.
Yeah, and my girls, like I said, they literally take care of the shop. They love the customers. Like, I couldn't say enough good things about them,
Yeah.
honestly.
As much as like we want to separate like personal from business, like business is personal because you know how much it means to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like your business is personal to you, and as much as like we want to separate that, it's kind of impossible
yeah, for
because
sure.
we're dealing with real life human beings that have their own life going on too, and they have their own situations and their own struggles. And so like it's like you're really willing to suffer and struggle with me.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's good. How many locations do you have?
We have 4 right now. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So we have one on the east side, one on the west side of Pasco, kind of like, I don't know, is it considered west side? It's like on Road 44 in Argent. It's kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
And then one in Burbank, and one right here off of Steptoe and Clearwater.
I seen that. I seen
Yeah.
that. How long has that one been open?
This one we just opened, I want to say in October. Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah. So I've opened the one on Road 44 in Argent within the last year, I want to say. I opened those up almost back to back, so that was a little bit stressful, but it worked out.
How has it been going for you on Clearwater?
It's been going really well, honestly. I feel like most shops take about like, I would say maybe like 6 months to really like start
Yeah.
seeing some traction and start seeing your regulars and
sure.
like all of that. And honestly, I feel like this one has,
Just
yeah, kind of,
skyrocketed?
yeah,
That's good.
yeah. I know we've had a lot of good feedback, and so yeah, I think a lot of it also has to do with obviously your coffee beans, and like your product. We source our beans from somebody here locally. His name's Cody. He's a great, great guy. He has helped me since the very beginning also, like at our OG stand on Lewis. He helped me set up my first machine, and yeah, he's been great. He's helped me so much. Yeah.
Shout out Cody.
Yeah, for
and
real.
The coffee beans.
Houdini Roasters. Yeah, he's great. He actually was roasting for a bigger company. Hopefully he doesn't get mad. I'm here telling his tea. But yeah, he was doing it for somebody else, and he actually just opened up his own. So, and that's who I'm getting my beans from, and I'm super happy and super proud of him. You know, as a business owner, I know how tough it is. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you already kind of went through like the hardest part too of like the brand, because you already kind of established it. So wherever let's say you want to go to Richland, you already got the name.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, you already got
That's
the
what
name.
I like to think, at least. But
Yeah.
yeah. But you'd be surprised. Here in Kennewick, actually, when I first opened, they're like, "Oh, Lifeline." They're like, "We've never heard of this." And I was like, "Yeah, well, we're on the east side of Pasco. That's where we started." So I feel like Yeah, when we made it to Road 44, I was like, we made it at the hood.
That's
Because,
true.
yeah, it took us a while, but we made it out. But I
Uh,
will forever be grateful for my Lewis people,
yeah.
the Lewis Street people, you know.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones who rocked with us for a long time until we were finally able to
Yeah.
expand.
Shout out the Pasco community
Honestly, yes.
for real.
Pasco community, I feel, is like some of like just the strongest community.
Yeah,
It really is.
I believe it too.
Yeah.
Like the people that support your business are like diehard, like
Mhm.
loyal,
Yes.
right?
100%. I know. Sometimes we'll post like reels or whatever, and some of the comments, they're just like, just so great. They're like, yeah, we've been coming here since you opened, um, and then we posted a reel recently with like like featuring our baristas.
Mhm.
And some of the people were like, hey, where's so and so in the video? Because I didn't post them. Well, I only had a certain amount of content, so I couldn't post all the baristas. But yeah, we have some customers that are like ride or dies for
That's
sure.
good. How do you define success now? And like has that definition for you changed over time?
Um, I don't think it's changed over time. I think my definition of success has always been to have freedom, right? Like,
Mhm.
I've always had this dream where I want to work because I can
Mhm.
and because I'm able to, but I don't necessarily have to work.
Right.
Like, I'm not, I don't want to say like chained, but I'm not like,
A slave.
like
Yeah.
I'm not having to like go into work to, make a living, I guess,
Yeah.
or survive.
Thank God.
Yeah. So that for me, like if I want to go to a restaurant and have a nice little steak, have a nice dinner, and I'm able to afford that, then or like take a nice little vacation,
Yeah.
then that's really all. Obviously, I want to save money and do all of those things too.
Of course.
But yeah, that's really my definition. Like I don't feel like I said, I'm not looking to like buy the Lambo or the purses or like, I'm not like aspiring to be like a multimillionaire or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like that's not my dream. I just want to be happy and get the things that I want to get and live
That's
life.
good.
Yeah.
That's good that you mentioned that, so people that are viewing too is like, it's really not all about the money.
No.
And like the other day, I actually got a negative comment from
Sad.
somebody that went for the first time. They're like, honestly, like your place is ass. And I was like,
You should
oh,
have been like, you know what? Just kidding.
but but at least they told me, and I don't know how
Oh.
many people like they told, but I was like,
Wait, they put it like on a Yelp review or
no,
they told you
they told
personally?
me directly, like
Oh,
they texted
wow.
me
That's bold.
through social media, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, but like honestly, from like the bottom of my heart, like I'm sorry you
Yeah.
feel that way, because nobody wants to go and have a negative experience where you're paying,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
100%. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm sorry, like if you want, like if you would have, he told me a week after he bought the meat. So I was like, I'm sorry, like if you would have told me earlier, like I would have gave you
Yeah.
your money back and like or credit
Yeah.
or something, you know.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry that you feel that way, and like you told me in those words, because I could have easily got offended, but instead, like I was like, no, like I'm gonna put myself in their shoes,
Yeah.
so I can better my team, my product, whatever I gotta do.
Mhm.
But like, you know,
Yeah.
I really asked them like, what was the problem, and sure enough, like by the end of the conversation, he was like, honestly, like I'll try you guys out again. I'm sorry for saying that, and I was like,
He's like, you know, I didn't
yeah,
mean it.
there's like, he's like, maybe it's just something that I got that I didn't like, or I'm not used to the flavor or whatever. And I was like, yeah, like go ahead and try this again, like
Yeah.
please, you know. And if you don't, it's okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
where I was going to that or with that is, I told him, I was like, honestly, like I'm not gonna get rich off of selling meat.
Mhm.
Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like make a living, like do the best that I can for my community, and that's all I'm trying
Yeah.
to do. Like it used to be a different mindset before, but I was also younger
Yeah.
before. We're talking like 2-3 years ago when I started.
Mhm.
Like I was much younger.
Yeah.
Like I had a different mindset. I thought it was all about like
Getting money
reputation and
yeah.
like respect, and like it is about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now it's like like you said, putting God first and thanking him for the opportunities, and then after that is the business.
Everything that
Because
comes after, yeah.
I feel like with our business, like everything on earth is temporary at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he gave us like this vineyard to work,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, like we have to give it back to him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's we're gonna leave this earth, and like the vineyard's still gonna be there. Somebody else is
Mm-hmm.
gonna work it.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of view it right
I feel
now.
like it's up to us, talking about like the vineyard, it's up to us to like be able to produce that fruit to
Mhm.
hopefully leave it for the next people.
Exactly.
And kind of in a sense I look at it like how my parents kind of taught, or I'm sure your parents, I feel like we
Yeah.
grew up pretty similar.
Mhm.
What our parents taught us, they bared great fruit,
Yeah.
and they passed it down to us, and hopefully we can continue to bear that fruit and pass it down to, you know, the generations after us.
Exactly.
But
So what do you think is next for you?
Um, this is insider information. Just kidding. um, no, I actually did just purchase a little mobile cart. But I would like to start doing like smaller little events, and eventually do bigger events. But my thought now is just to do small ones. Um, but eventually, I think I want to do kind of like delivery coffee.
Nice.
Because
Mobile?
I really do feel like that's going to be the future of coffee.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel
I
like
see it.
there's going to be more delivery trucks that are just going to larger buildings, people putting in mass orders and then just having their coffee for the day. I feel like as kind of Americans, we're always in a rush, like just the work culture.
Right.
People just are not having enough time to stop for coffee, or they think about it and they're like, oh, I'm going to have to wait in line for like 10, 15 minutes. Like, let me
Right.
just go to work and I'll just order it while I'm at work and have it delivered to me, you know? It's all about convenience here. So I feel like maybe later on down the road, that would be a small goal of mine. But yeah, like I said, whatever God wants to
Exactly.
put on my plate, I will accept. And hopefully I can make it happen.
That's good.
I'll put in the work.
I honestly see that too. I see the future is like whatever is the most convenient. People are gonna be willing to pay, because the U.S. is so privileged in that like we
Yeah.
have so many like things that we don't even see sometimes that are like at abundance in this country. That like it takes like somebody else from another country like Mexico to remind us like, oh dang, like look at all the things that you guys have.
Yeah.
Like I recently heard a guy that like kind of reminded me, like he told me his life story and like how he grew up in Mexico. And I was like, dang, like a lot of the things that are abundant here are like there's not much over there,
Yeah.
you know. But I definitely see that like the mobile coffee being like a big
A
thing.
thing?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So we'll see. But
I know I would be ordering one every day.
but yeah, for now, I definitely, like I said, I just got that little cart to do
Yeah.
small events. And I don't know. I feel like that'll be easy to kind of transition into, because I'm gonna be able to kind of, in a sense, make my own schedule. You know,
Right.
like if I want to schedule an event, I can. If I don't want to schedule an event this week, I don't have to. You know, so it's kind of up to me. And I know with that, I'm able to look at my time and be like, am I gonna have time for this? Am I gonna be able to invest in this? You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, so I'm
course.
pretty excited. We'll see when it actually goes into effect, but maybe by the end of the summer, ish.
What personal sacrifices have you made to get to where you are today?
I would just say, I guess, my time. You know, I feel like I live a pretty routine life, so I can't say that I've like had to sacrifice a ton. But obviously, family time, especially in the beginning,
Right.
I would have to work, and my family would be at a birthday party or at a barbecue or whatever, you know, that I wouldn't be able to go to. But yeah, pretty much just family, friend time. I feel like sometimes I'm a horrible friend. I text my friends and I'm like, I'm so sorry, because I have to kind of focus on the shop a little bit.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like hopefully this year I can be a better friend and start making more time for my friends.
Yeah.
Because they've been very, very supportive in a lot of aspects of my life.
That's good.
And yeah, I feel like I need to, you know, put in an effort as a friend as well.
Yeah. Be a better friend.
Yeah. I'll try. No, I will be. I'll make it a point this year.
Yeah. What kind of advice can you give to people that are kind of starting where you started? Hopefully in another state. I'm just kidding.
No coffee shops. No more coffee shops in
No,
Tri-Cities,
just
guys.
kidding. But
No,
yeah.
honestly, the thing that sticks with me the most, and it always has for whatever reason, is what's the worst that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really. It doesn't go through, and okay, like, you find another thing to do, you know? I think for me, it was a little bit easier to open up the coffee shop because I already knew that I was going to have nursing to fall back on.
Right.
And I still have that, like, safety net, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm no longer working as a nurse, but I still have my license that's active. So, and I'll keep it active until forever, I think. But I still have that safety net. But my mentality going into it and opening it was, what's the worst that can happen? I'm out X amount of money. I mean, it's still money, but I still had a little bit left, you know? Like, I felt like it was a good trade-off in a sense. So that would be my advice is just do it, and what's the worst that can happen? You know?
There you go.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think or do.
Exactly.
Because what you might, I guess, feel a little bit embarrassed, like, dang, I tried this and it didn't work out, and people might call you out on it for whatever reason. That doesn't make them a very good person if they do that. But at the end of the day, at least you tried. I feel like people who are opening up a business, they're doing, for the most part, they're doing it to better themselves and better their lives and, like, get out of, if that's what the person is choosing to do, it's probably because they're trying to get out of the, like, whole 9-to-5 routine, which is fine. But yeah, I feel like people should always try to do what they want to do, and hopefully just have a lot of faith going into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, hope for the best.
The other side is coming for us all. Like the other side of the plan, the vision. Like once you get the vision, like it's kind of already done. You just kind of got to be obedient and like
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
be humble, share.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what it's all about.
I think helping
Help
out anybody that needs to be helped out is a huge thing too.
Yeah.
Just try to shine a light for people, you know?
Yeah. I think a big thing too, when like we talked about like working in the vineyard too, is like, I think for us, the way that our parents set up our lives is we're working in a vineyard, but that vineyard also has like a wall around it. And it also has like a nice watchtower. And it also has like other people working in it. So like there's that safety net where like they set it up for us like that. And I'm ultimately grateful for the example and the way that my parents set up the opportunities that were to come for me.
Yeah.
Because without that wall around the vineyard, without that watchtower, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And, you know, thank God that he allows it to happen.
Yeah. I feel like our parents, you know, my parents came from Mexico. I don't know about yours, but both of my parents, they migrated here from Mexico. My dad, you know, started working at a job, didn't know any English. My mom lied on her resume to get a job. She said she was older than what she was because they had to work. You know, they had no other option. They had to help support their family. So I think that, like, sometimes we often complain about our work and about our job, but we really, like, we have it so good.
Yes.
We have it so good. And so I often have to remind myself, like, how good we have it because they sacrifice so much for what I am able to have now. And what my siblings, like I said, all my siblings, you know, we're all doing really good, thank God. And thanks to my parents. Like, they really did their big one and set us up and that's a lot of kids, 7 kids, you know?
Yeah.
And
that is.
I don't know how they managed to do it, but they did it. So.
They didn't have a TV, huh?
Yeah. I don't think they did. Mom, Dad.
My parents had 6 kids too.
Oh yeah.
That's why I can joke about that.
Yeah, but it's great. I loved growing up with a big family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Now
I
I feel
know.
like it's too expensive to have a big family like that.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing too to like grow up in a big family, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why would you ever not want to have a big family? Like, I want to have a big
Yeah.
family, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's such a blessing, like, to have like so many brothers and sisters. Like, imagine all the nieces and nephews, and then, yeah, like,
I know it's crazy. We actually took family pictures last year, I want to say,
yeah,
and there's 20 of us, and that's that. You know, some of us are not married yet, some of us don't have kids yet. So I'm like, it's only gonna grow from here.
Yeah.
And I looked at my parents, and I'm like, they created that. Like they created all of this. So
Yeah.
yeah, they've been a huge, like I said, huge blessing. I think having a support system is huge,
right.
and having your family as a support system is a huge blessing, because I know that a lot of people don't have that, you know?
Yeah.
Any new thing that I come up with or think of, or any opportunity that I may have, I go to my parents first. They're the first
Right.
people I tell. I'm calling my dad. It's so funny because I actually have a potential opportunity to do something else. And I told my dad, and I was like kind of quiet on the phone. And he was like, "Why are you so quiet? Like, get excited. This is awesome. Like, get excited. Start getting ready." And I was like, "You know what? You're right, Dad." And yeah, he just kind of, again, spoke a lot of positivity into me. And it really wasn't that I was doubting myself, but it's just scary, you know? Sometimes it gets a little scary. Like, you're like, dang, how am I going to, like, do all of this? But I feel like as long as you have support, and then
Yeah.
whatever, then the rest, if you fail, but you'll still have that support, you know, no matter what. So I feel like that's it's a really good feeling to have.
Yeah,
sure.
the scary feeling, that like that risk feeling. That's where
Yeah.
like we all started, and then when it comes back, it's like, wait, hold on, is this like another big step? That's kind of how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
And shout out to the parents too that came to this country with nothing, because that's how my parents came too. But did they really come with nothing when like they came with that work ethic,
Yeah.
that hunger? So are you really coming with nothing?
Oh,
I think you're coming with everything.
That's true.
Con todas las ganas,
Yeah,
you know?
that's very true.
I think some of us like that were born here we're not born with that hunger, with that risk-taking attribute to us.
Yeah.
But throughout time, like we kind of learn it from
Yeah.
them.
But
So,
I also feel
yeah.
like we don't have that hunger because we never had to go through what they had to go
Exactly,
through,
yeah.
you know? Like my dad was like, you know, sometimes we didn't have anything to eat. He was just telling us, actually, the other day we were having a barbecue at the house. He's like, September was the worst month for them in Mexico because they had like nothing. They
Wow.
had nothing. So he was like, sometimes my grandma, she would make a chicken and like remake that caldo like 3 times, and they would just have pure caldo, like nothing else, just soup,
Wow.
just water basically, you know? And my mom, she often tells us, like, we didn't even have salt for the frijoles. Like, they came from, you know, they
Yeah.
had no other option but to work coming
Yeah.
here. And I think that's still a very real thing here.
Yeah.
Like, I think people want to come here because they want to work, you know,
Opportunities.
and the opportunities. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not seen like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tough situation, but I think at the end of the day, it's only by the grace of God that we weren't born on that side. We weren't
Yeah.
born into that, you know.
Right.
Thankfully, we're born into a place that has a lot of opportunities, and
Yeah.
we're born into a family, and born from parents that gave us opportunities, you know, that they
Right.
had to fight for and
Right.
and work for. So
I think here, like, the standard kind of changed too. Is like we like complain about not having like money for vacation, and like they complain about not having money for food
yeah,
or like any food.
yeah,
So it's the standard's kind of
it's crazy.
different. Like we stress about like, oh, like I don't have any time. Like sometimes not having time is good though, because you're blessed with so much work.
Yeah.
But you're always busy. You're always moving around.
Yeah. I
Right?
feel like
Yeah.
that's when I feel the most productive and just the most mentally stable in a sense, when I am busy.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I have too much downtime, I'm just
Exactly.
like, okay, what am I doing with my life? Like, I feel like I need to do more. And
Yeah.
I know sometimes that's like, it can be a little bit of a bad thing to have
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, because then you get overworked and stuff and you kind of get into your mind a little bit too much. But for the most part, yeah, I feel like being busy is a blessing for sure.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Um, Sometimes, but
Not
not too
really.
much, no, honestly. No. That kind of reminds me though. The other day, I was driving by the shops,
Mm-hmm.
and we had like a really long line, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" It was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "That is so crazy that people wake up, and they're like, I want to go get Lifeline today." Like, sometimes it blows my
Mm-hmm.
mind that I'm like, we are that coffee shop to some people. I don't know. It's just like
Exactly.
I was telling
That's
my
a
sister,
crazy
I was like,
feeling, huh?
yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
That gives me chills. I'm
Aw.
not gonna lie. Like it gives me chills too because that's what we work for,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um and when I pass by other businesses, I'm not talking about like franchises or, obviously like Walmart or
Yeah. Yeah.
those type, like I'm talking about like local
Small.
businesses like yours. I'm talking about, like Juanitos. I'm talking about even some of my competitors. Like when I pass by, I'm like, and I see that place full, I'm like, somebody worked for
Yeah.
that. Somebody like shed a lot of tears,
Mm-hmm.
blood, like for that.
Yep.
And so like my respect, my hats off to you and
Yeah.
to like all these local businesses that are really doing it
Yeah.
and putting on for Tri-Cities, because as Tri-Cities grows, like we're growing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of
100%.
people don't view it like that, but el sol sale para todos,
Oh yeah.
you know? And
100%.
even if another coffee shop comes, like Tri-Cities is
Yeah.
growing so fast that
I wouldn't be
even
able to have,
exactly.
like we wouldn't be able to have all the customers
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah.
So it just wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um. Yeah. It is a crazy feeling
Mm-hmm.
though, for sure.
Yeah.
To see people be like, I'm gonna go get Lifeline today.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure you feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
When people are like, let's go get Juanitos.
Yeah.
For the
That's a
carne
crazy
asada.
feeling too. Like people sharing a time with their family, like, and it's Juanitos carne asada.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge thing.
You know what
right?
else I think is so cool? That we are building core memories for people.
Yes.
I don't
I
know
think
if you've
about
done
that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is like one of the coolest things because I know growing up at my parents' store, well, like working
Mhm.
it, when we closed, people were so sad. Like when we closed the first store, people were so sad. They're like, man, we like grew up here. You saw us grow up, and yeah, we would see kids that
Yes.
8, 9 years old, and now they're like 20, and I'm like, whoa, that means I'm older.
Yeah.
That means I'm older than 20. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing that we get to do for our community and for our people.
Yeah. The other day, some guy, he's like, dude, like, I've been going to the Pasco store since it opened, and the Pasco store will open in 2007.
Oh wow.
And he's like, yeah, I've been going there since I was like 8 years old. Like I have memories of me as like a child going and like
Yeah.
wanting snacks or chips or whatever, or like carne asada from there. And like, yeah, like you said, like we're building core
Yeah.
memories for people.
I think that's a super cool thing
Yeah.
to do. Do your parents still work the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents are relentless
Yeah. Same.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, you guys should just,
Relax,
step back,
yeah.
relax, enjoy. But no,
they love
don't.
it.
Yeah.
Like you said, the family time is at work most of the time.
Mhm.
And other people would view that as like this family is kind of weird or crazy or
Yeah.
whatever, but I don't know, I see it as beautiful, like a beautiful thing.
Now I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Growing up, not so much.
Now exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's super cool that people go and like they talk to my dad all the time, and I don't know. I just think it's cool that we're those people for some people,
Exactly.
We're the corner store on the east side.
That's cool. What an opportunity. Thank you.
For sure.